I'm working on the Harry Chapin D28. The only new part of this pickguard crack is the use of low-tack transfer tape and magnets to lay out the braces as a guide while shaping the cleats, so I thought I'd share a story. My father passed away last December, and the officiant at his funeral, Janet, was an old neighbor and a good family friend, who later became a minister. The funeral was really lovely, with a heavy focus on music and the 650 guitars my father made, as well as his love of the outdoors and of reading. It was the best funeral I've ever attended. After the funeral, the family and some close friends came back to the house for mac and cheese, my father's favorite food, and his signature dish. As will happen when myself and my father's best friend, Dakota Dave, are around one another, the conversation got to guitars, and Janet said, "I've got a guitar story." When she was starting at one of her former parishes, she was going around to meet her parishioners, and one of them was showing her around his house. As they were passing a room, he said, "I've got a couple of guitars in there," to which she responded, "Well, I like guitars, let's see." He pulled out a Martin D28, saying it had been largely ignored for quite a while as he wasn't really a player. She asked why he had such a nice guitar if he didn't play. "Back in the 70s, he said, I was Harry Chapin's business manager. When he died, he was on his way to my house for a meeting before going to perform. As part of his estate, I was given this guitar. It should, I would guess, come as no surprise that I was practically shaking in my chair at this point, as I had read the story just a few days earlier when my customer had sent me a copy of the provenance for this guitar. I had removed the neck just a few days prior to my father's passing. The former owner had decided to move the guitar along, and it had come up for sale at a store near my customer. My customer is a very fine builder and could clearly see what was needed with the guitar, but didn't want to attempt the repair himself, being more of a guitar builder than a repair person. So before he bought the guitar, he called to ask me if I would take on the repair. This being a pretty common job for me, I, of course, said yes. He refused to let me give him a friends and family discount. The world really is, at times, a very small place. The random nature of Janet having met the former owner of this guitar, 1,000 miles from my shop, and bringing up that story at that time was one of the first really happy moments I'd had after my father's death. I spend my days working at his workbench, using many of his tools, and building guitars based on his designs. Unlike Chapin's famous protagonist, my father always found time for me as a child, and I tried to find time for him as an adult. I've always felt very fortunate to have him as a father. I've always felt very fortunate to have had him as a mentor. Thank you, Dad.